book entitled Duty, and says the former defense secretary released the book now trying to prevent the events in Iraq that are happening now in Afghanistan. Joining us, he is General Jack Keane, retired four-star Army general, former Army Vice Chief of Staff, also Fox News military analyst. General, your thoughts upon reading the entire book, which puts you in a very rarefied class. I have read excerpts, but not the entire book.
Well, first of all, it's a refreshingly honest memoir because he doesn't leave himself out. He admits all the mistakes that he made, and some of them were serious. And usually you don't find those very much in memoirs. And it's also a very moving narrative, Lou, because he talks time and again about his love for the troops, the personal responsibility he bears for their safety and their welfare, and also the fact that he cared so much for them when he entered his 5th year. He thought his emotions for them were clouding his judgment, and it was a factor in his resignation. And certainly the other thing, obviously, that everybody is talking about so much, it comes across loud and clear in the narrative, and that is the fact that the White House, led by Vice President Biden, was undermining the decisions that were made to execute the war in Afghanistan with a new strategy and a surge. And that is just outrageous, and it's quite appalling to read it. It rings out to you when you read those excerpts from the book, and all the backup information that Gates provides in the book is pretty significant. And
the reference to Vice President Biden. If you will, expand on that a bit.
Well, what happened, Lou, is, as Gates details, the president made a decision not to accept the vice president's recommendation on the war strategy for Afghanistan, accepted the recommendation of Gates, Clinton, Petraeus, and McChrystal, counterinsurgency similar to the success we were achieving in Iraq, and also additional forces to execute that. From the beginning, after that decision was made, the vice president and other national security staff members in the White House did all they could to assist that strategy in not working, claiming it was failing, and were undermining the ability of General McChrystal, then General Petraeus, to execute it. That is quite stark, and I think somewhat unprecedented to see that kind of behavior from such high officials.
Well, a lot is going to flow from this. There is already response from the White House, and we're going to be watching, I'm sure, the expected damage control efforts by this White House. But much damage, as you suggest, I think may well have already been done to this president, whose credibility on national security is right now, I can't give you a reading on it, an empirical poll, but it's tarnished beyond, I think, what anyone could possibly have imagined even a year ago. That said, we are watching Iraq. The violence there is overwhelming, and right now, many sources tell us that al-Qaeda's presence in Iraq gives it control over more territory than ever before. Will they, in fact, succeed in taking over Iraq, in your judgment?
I don't know, Lou, but I do know this is a very serious problem. They have seized Fallujah. Next, it will be Ramadi and the entire Anbar province. And this is where the al-Qaeda and the Sunni insurgency began back in 2003. The facts are, the al-Qaeda was defeated, Lou. They admitted it in 2009 and said, send no more fighters, we are done. The fact of the matter is, Maliki's decisions and the lack of the administration's engagement with him, policies with him, strategic partnership with him, the lack of that, and the lack of troops have invited the al-Qaeda and emboldened them. The danger is this, Lou. They now have a swath of territory in Syria. They are getting a swath of territory in Iraq. They're not looking at that border as being meaningful. They're looking at a major sanctuary and safe haven for them to be predator in nature in the region. And this is significant for us, our U.S. interest, and our own security.
How significant is it in your judgment, turning, if I may, very quickly, we're out of time, but turning very quickly to the issue of the president's statements to the White House, letting us know that the president is expected to rein in surveillance by the NSA, beginning meetings with congressional leaders. Your thoughts?
Well, I believe what the NSA has been doing has been right on the mark. and there's been no abuse that anybody's been able to discover. And I don't believe they're violating the American people's civil liberties. And if he's going to pull back from that, then what's going to give in there is the people of the United States will be less secure and more vulnerable. And I think that's definitely a mistake.
General Jack Keane, good to talk with you. Thanks for being here.
As always, Lou. Take